I'm Chief Peterson of the Elizabeth Fire Department. I'm here today to read to you Firefighters A to Z in celebration of Read It Across America Week. I hope you'll enjoy it. Firefighters A to Z by Chris Demarest. When we open the book, we see there's a nice picture, an outline of a firefighter, fully dressed, and a quick description of what his fire gear looks like. Throughout the book, we'll be talking about some of the many things, tools and equipment that firefighters use when we're fighting fires. Okay, starting with letter A. A is for the alarm that rings loud and clear. You'll see there's a bell in the picture. Nowadays, we don't often use a bell to sound the alarm. We use different tones and signals that tell us when and where to go. B is for boots, stored in our bunker gear. Bunker gear is another word for firefighting clothes. Bunker pants would be the lower part. A bunker coat or turnout coat would be the top part, as you see in the picture. We store our boots down in the bunker pants so that when there's a fire, we jump right in our boots, pull our pants right up, and we're already halfway dressed and ready to go. We get to C. C is for chief, whose experience we trust. That will be me, Chief Peterson, the Chief of the Elizabeth Fire Department. D is for Dalmatian, a firehouse must. A Dalmatian is a type of dog. As you see, it's white with black spots. They've been known throughout history as a traditional part of the firehouse. Here in the Elizabeth Fire Department, we don't have fire dogs or Dalmatians in our firehouses. It's something that used to happen a long time ago that's kind of no longer a thing. E is for the engine exiting the bay. In case you didn't know, this is a fire engine. Do any of you know the difference between a fire engine and a fire truck? Well, I'll tell you. A fire engine carries the hose and the water. A fire truck carries the ladders and the tools. In the fire service, we also have one other type of company, which is the rescue squad. The rescue squad is responsible for searching for lost people in a fire and for doing other things like car accidents and things of that nature. F is for fire. We see far and away. What's one of the signs of fire? Can you see it in this picture? Yes, it's the smoke. The smoke can usually be seen from far away, and it's usually one of the first signs of a fire. That's why there's smoke detectors. It's a way to let you know early on that there's a problem and a possible fire. If you hear your smoke detector start sounding, then you know it's time to get out. G. G is for go as we race at full speed. Yeah, we go fast to fires. Full speed? I don't think so, because even though we're a fire truck with lights and sirens, we still have to watch out and be cautious of other cars on the road, pedestrians, which are people walking across the streets, kids playing, traffic lights. So, although we can run traffic lights, we have to stop, look both ways, watch for other vehicles, and all those things that make it safe before we proceed. H is for hoses and hydrants we need. You know what a hydrant is? A fire hydrant is the little red plug there that we use to get our water supply. In a city like Elizabeth, there's hydrants on almost every corner. So if there's a fire, we have a place to get water. Now, most of the fire engines carry water on board, as I said before, but it's usually not enough to put out a whole fire. So we have to make sure we hook up to the fire hydrant so we have a continued source of water. The hoses are how we deliver the water onto the fire. I is for inside. Start the primary search. Okay, as you see, the firefighters are low on the ground, crawling on their knees. Meanwhile, up on top in the room is the smoke and the hot gases. This is why, whenever there's a fire, you should stay low and go. You ever heard that phrase before? Stay low and go. That means get down on the ground, crawl out on your belly if possible, and get to the nearest exit to get out. You could always find cooler air, safer air down by the floor. Our primary search is the method we use to search for trapped fire victims. J is for jump if you feel the floor lurch. All right, J is for jump. There's not a lot of instances where you want to have to jump at a fire. If you feel the floor is weak, jumping could actually make you fall through it. So be careful. Choose when a firefighter must choose when he feels there's a need to jump. That's usually a last ditch effort. It's the last thing he needs to do to save himself from being hurt or injured. K is for K tool, to open locked doors. You see this little tool here in the firefighter's hand? You see how it's shaped like a K? That's why it's called the K tool. A K tool is used so the opening slides over a lock. It's banged on with the axe to where it cuts into the lock, and then it's pried off the door, pulling the lock apart, making it so that we can open a locked door. So a K tool is what we call a forcible entry tool. Okay. On to L. L is for ladders that rise several floors. You see the ladders, how tall they can be, how short some can be. There's different type of ladders, different heights. Usually a ground ladder, which is what we call these ground ladders because they're raised from the ground, can reach heights up to 3 stories or 3 floors, and maybe up to the roof of that 3rd floor. After the 3rd floor, if we need to get to the roof or the upper floors, that's when we use the fire trucks. Remember the fire trucks I told you about? They're the ones with the big ladder on top. So then we would use the aerial device or the aerial ladder to get to higher floors, floors higher than the 3rd floor. M is for the mask into which clean air flows. You see the mask on a firefighter's face? It has a clear shield, so when possible we could see, and it helps protect our eyes from debris or dirt, smoke, and fire going into our eyes or face. Along with the mask comes a hose. You see here, that's a hose. The hose is going to the big tank located on the firefighter's back. So when we're inside a room or a house or any area that's filled with toxic smoke, we put on our mask and we breathe clean air from our air tank through the hose into our mask. That's the way we're able to stay inside a fire or go inside a fire to search for victims and put the fire out. It's something you as ordinary civilians or kids don't have. So again, in case of fire, you need to get out. N is for the nozzle attached to the hose. Okay, so you see the fire hose, which I told you delivers the water to the fire. Well, this nozzle, the part on the very end with a lever to open and close it, is the way we shoot the fire onto the water. So it's called a nozzle. Always for opening places fires hide. This is something a lot of people don't understand at a fire. How is that fire getting around? Why is that fireman breaking the wall or the ceiling or the roof or the window? Well, when there's a fire, there's these things called hidden spaces or hidden voids. A fire can be inside of a wall and you won't even know it because you won't see it. Meanwhile, that fire will travel up the wall from one floor to the other. So one of the things firefighters do, it's called overhaul. That's when we take our tools, such as this pike pole, and we break a hole in the wall to expose the hidden fire and to better be able to put it out. So this is why we open up holes in the walls or in the ceilings and things like that, so we can get to the hidden fire. Last thing we want to do is leave a house thinking that the fire is out, for people to go back in and then find out later that the fire wasn't out, it continued to burn and either burned their house down or got somebody hurt. P is for a pickaxe, to make the holes wide. All right, I told you about some of the tools we use to open the walls and open the ceilings. Another tool we use is the pickaxe, the big red axe in a firefighter's hand. A lot of times when we use axes, it's to create vent holes in the roof or in the floor. So once again, we can open up and let the hot fire gases out. That creates a better environment for firefighters to better be able to go inside and put the fire out, as well as search for victims. Also, if there was a victim trapped inside, again, the toxic air would do the most harm. Once the hole is open, the fire is vented out, it makes the air in the room a little better to be able to breathe in. Q is for quickly, which is how fires spread. Fires spread rapidly. Fire is known to follow the path of least resistance. That means if there is no walls or doors in an open space, fire will continue to travel. If there's a door and you close the door on the room that's in fire, you can help stop the spread of a fire. This is a very important factor. If you are in a room or you see a room that is on fire, on your way out, you should close the door. Closing the door prevents the fire from spreading from one room to the other, to another, from one floor to the other. So always, when you have an emergency, when you have a fire, on your way out, close the door. R is for rope, hauling tools overhead. As you see, once we utilize our ladder to get to the roof, sometimes we can't climb with the tools in our hand. So what we would do is, once we get to the roof, we would lower a rope, tie it to the tools we need, and pull the tools up to the roof. Especially some heavier tools like this. This is a chainsaw, a little hard to carry up a ladder when you're trying to climb with all the fire gear on. So it's easier to climb up first without the tool, lower the rope, tie it onto the tool, and then pull the tool up. We use rope for a couple other things. We might tie the ladder into a place to prevent it from falling. We use search ropes, which we might tie to the fire truck or to a point outside of the fire building, and tie one end to ourselves so that when we go crawling around and searching in the dark, we can pull the rope and follow the rope back to get ourselves out to safety. S for sounding. We test for weak floors. Okay, S is for sounding. Remember how I told you about jumping on letter J? Well, S is for sounding. We would take our pickaxe or another tool before we go onto a roof from the ladder, or before we climb into the window. We would take our tool and bang the floor. That's to make sure there's not a hole in the floor where we're about to climb in, or to make sure that the floor hasn't been weakened by the fire that could be below. So we sound the floor with our tools to make sure it's safe to climb into the window or onto the roof. T is for teamwork. No one works alone. Have you ever been camping or on a field trip and your teachers or counselors tell you that we're going to use the buddy system and everybody has to choose a buddy to walk with so you don't get lost, so you have help should something happen? That's the way firefighters work. No one works alone. We always work in at least a team of two, the buddy system. U is for up. Black smoke swirls all above. So, we're talking about fire travel, fire spread, and the way heat travels. Like I said before, it always follows the path of least resistance. Usually it starts by up. So hot fire gases and smoke, they usually rise up, especially on the outside. They're free to rise up, unless, of course, the air is very cold. Cold air suppresses fire smoke and keeps it down low. Hot air is just like the hot smoke that comes from a fire, so it's easier to spread around in hot atmospheres. V is for ventilate. Let the gases out. Remember how I said the fire's going to rise to the top until it meets resistance, and then it's going to travel sideways. So when we cut a hole with our chainsaw or our pickaxe, when we cut a hole in the roof, it's to let the smoke and the hot gases out. Again, it makes it easier for the firefighters to put the fire out inside, and it makes the air a little better for them and for any victims they may be searching for. W is for water flowing higher and higher. Okay, one of the best tools to put out fire is water. Water puts out fire by absorbing the heat and usually turning it into steam or smoke. So when we use water on a fire, that's basically what we're doing. We're absorbing all of the heat, cooling things down. Without heat, the fire goes out. So that's why water is used to put out the fire. It's our number one firefighting agent. There is also things like you might see a fire extinguisher, which is coming up next. X is for extinguisher. We put out the fires. Well, in fire extinguishers, they may have water, or they may have a type of powder, which is a dry chemical, which is used to put out fires. There's also a type of extinguisher called a carbon dioxide extinguisher, CO2. That's the one you see a lot in movies when they spray it in this cold air, looks like snow comes out. That's a carbon dioxide extinguisher, okay? That's the one that sprays the cold stuff. Different extinguishers are used for different material. Water can be used on Class A fires, which is paper, wood, cardboard, things like that. Then you have Class B extinguishers, which is oils, greases, things like that. Type C extinguishers, which may be electrical in nature, electric appliances and things like that. That's when you want to use the CO2 extinguisher to put the fire out. Why? Why is for yawning? We all did our best. Oh boy, firefighting is not easy. Neither is reading a book about firefighting. It kind of makes you tired. But at the end of the day, after The fire's been put out, the tools have been cleaned and they're made ready for use again. The fire truck, the firehouse, our fire gear, everything is straightened away and ready for the next call. In between calls, oh, we like to take catch a few Z's. Z is for the zip into bed for a rest. So after we're running around and fighting fires, when we do what we do here in Elizabeth for a 24-hour shift, we are there in the firehouse ready to fight fires for 24 hours. That's a whole day, a whole night, all the way to the next morning. So overnight, when there is no fires, you will catch the firefighters catching a few Z's. Catching a few Z's to make themselves alert and physically fit and ready for the next call, for the next fire. Well, that is firefighting A to Z. So Firefighters A to Z. Explain all the letters of the alphabet as it pertains to firefighters and what they do. I hope you enjoyed the book. I enjoyed our time together here today and look forward to the next time. So keep up on your reading, pick up a book, and you'll learn a lot. Thank you and have a blessed day. A few safety tips. One, which we all know, which I'm sure you heard over and over, never play with matches or a lighter. If you see them laying around, let an adult know, let them put it away, or give it to them so they can put it away somewhere that others won't play with it. Okay? Playing with matches and lighters are one of the #1 causes for starting fires or house fires. Okay? Another one, if your house is on fire, which you'll know if you have a working smoke detector, you need to always make sure your smoke detectors work. Test them once a month. Push the button, make it sound. When you hear that sound, know what to do. So not only test your smoke detectors and replace your batteries once a year, do a drill. Do what we call an EDIT drill. It's an exit drill in the home, EDITH. Sound the smoke detector, and then everybody does what they would do in case of a fire. Remember, alert your parents or an adult, alert others in the house, stay low, and go. So work that exit drill, know how you're gonna get out, know where you're gonna meet up, have a meeting place outside for when everybody's out, and be sure to call 911 and alert the fire department. Okay, so it's when you're out, you're safe. Just like in baseball, you're either out or you're safe. Well, when it comes to a fire, when you're out, you are safe. Okay, another thing, if your clothes should ever catch on fire, this is for when your clothes catch on fire. You probably heard this one before. You should stop where you are, drop to the floor, cover your face, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll, okay? If your clothes ever catch on fire, you stop where you are, you drop to the floor, you cover your face, and you roll around. This would smother the fire and hopefully put the fire on your clothes out, okay? So, with these things in mind, make sure you talk to your parents to practice your exit drill, to make sure your smoke detectors work, and then make sure you have a meeting place and that you know how to dial 911 once you are out of the house. Okay? So follow these tips and you will be safe in the case of fire, and you will be on your way to being a smart firefighter, possible future firefighter. Enjoy. Goodbye.